Okay, this is the most amazing start to a trade deadline since last year. You have Ken Rosenthal doubling down from a year ago, leading his article tonight by saying it's AJ Preller's world and we're all just living in it. That's his trade deadline primer, less than 48 hours out, saying that the Padres are heavily involved. It would be surprising if they did not make a big splash. And that's where we are. I think we have to start, obviously, with Juan Soto, and we'll spend a lot of time, I'm sure, tonight on Juan Soto. We'll get to all the supers if you want to weigh in by clicking that dollar sign down below. Here's the thing with Soto, Jim. It's a high-stakes game of chicken. You really can't blink because if you go out and make another sizable move and give away some of your capital, you're allowing another team to swoop in, whether it's St. Louis or LA. So, unfortunately, you might find yourself in a position where you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and it prevents you from doing other things. However, I don't see another option. The reward is too significant to just pass on Juan Soto to fill other needs. And now that you're less than 48 hours out, I think you got to wait this thing out. And if you think, you know how poker works, like if you have a feel or a tell on who you're playing, like Mike Rizzo, if you think he's getting moved and you think you got a chance to get him, I think you got to stay in this thing until the 11th hour.
Right. And, this is a dangerous game of chicken here because AJ Preller needs to upgrade this roster in a bad way. And not just by like a couple pieces that we haven't really talked about, like Wilson Contreras, Juan Soto type of player. And really, those are only two guys that are out there, but it is a dangerous game you're playing because if by chance you miss out on Juan Soto and you waited till the end of the deadline, and that also makes you miss out on other players as well. I guess you do it because it's Juan Soto, but you are playing a very dangerous game of chicken here because you cannot afford to not get somebody of significance at the trade deadline. And I know Juan Soto is the number one target. He is the number target for this team. No question about it. But man, you can't, if it's 258 and all of a sudden the Nationals are like, guess what? We're not trading Juan Soto. We didn't get what we wanted. You better have a backup plan ready like in a second. If Wilson Contreras hasn't been traded already either. Which
it seems
it's kind of hard to
unlikely,
believe.
Jim.
It's hard to believe that he wouldn't be. Like,
well, that's
one
the thing.
team is going to move on and go for Contreras instead.
Well, here's the other question. Are asking prices right now higher than they will be in 24 or 43 hours or whatever the hours are? And if you read some of the stuff at MLB.com and others that are writing on the subject here today and tonight, some believe that the asking prices may come down in the hours leading up to the deadline. I don't know if that's the case, though, with someone like Juan Soto. To your point, I think you have to have a feel here for AJ Preller. And here's why. Because if you don't land Soto, first of all, that's troublesome if you don't land Soto and you don't take care of anything else. It's even more troublesome if you don't land Soto and someone else does. But yeah, I know the Padres hit 8 home runs this weekend. I saw it. I know that happened. They had 5 in one game. But you're still a team that's figuring out the closer spot. You're figuring out your bullpen. You have no idea what's going on at first base. You could argue about multiple outfield spots, center field and right field specifically. You don't know about Tatis's health. You don't know about catcher, hence the fact that they're interested in Contreras, per Ken Rosenthal, and others. So to your point, there's a lot going on here. The idea that the trade deadline passes and you're in the same position as 2021, it's worst case scenario, but I understand it from Preller's perspective. It's like, I need to wait this off because to do this franchise, the service I need to do it as the GM, I have to see if I can land Juan Soto. But how long can I wait? Do I wait till 1 o'clock in the afternoon Pacific on Tuesday? Do I call it off Monday night? That's the determining factor. When do you have to call it off?
I would think there's a deadline. Like it has to be from the Nationals because there has to be a deadline here. Like 2:30 on Tuesday. Or something along those lines.
I think it's got to be before that.
But you get my point. Like, it's just there has to be a deadline on Tuesday at some point in time for Juan Soto if he's going to be traded or not. Because these teams that are in on him are going to move off. And then potentially the Nationals could be sitting there like, wait, actually, maybe we shouldn't have done that deal. But the teams are like, no, we have to move on. Like, we can't do this anymore. And Preller, and literally the first sentence in Ken Rosenthal's article that he just put out tonight, which was pretty much like all about AJ Preller, literally said it's AJ Preller's world, and the rest of the baseball industry is just living in it. I mean, so what does that mean?
What it means is the expectations are through the roof, and if you don't deliver, there's going to be a lot of unhappy San Diegans and Padres fans, is what it means for a second consecutive year. So that's first and foremost.
Right.
Secondarily, what it means, I think secondarily what it means is there's a lot of people in baseball that are closely connected that do believe the Padres have the capital to pull this off. This idea that you're 40 hours out and you're not going to include James Wood in a deal, you're not going to include an additional major leaguer like, I'm making it up, Adrian Morejon or CJ Abrams in a deal. You're not going to include Jackson Merrill in a deal. What I read from Ken Rosenthal, or maybe it was someone else within the last 20 minutes, I think at MLB.com, is the asking price is this: your top 4 prospects in a major leaguer that can contribute right away. So if that's the asking price, let's run through it. Morejon's a major leaguer that can contribute right away. CJ Abrams is a major leaguer that can contribute right away. You could say he's your top prospect as well. I'm sure that would work as well. And then run through it. Robert Hassel's in your top 4. James Wood probably at this point is in your top 4, and some other prospect in this organization as well. So that's probably the asking price. Is that sufficient for the Padres to move those number of players with that type of ceiling to land Juan Soto? In my mind, it is. If you read the Kyle Glazer Baseball America article from a week ago, he says teams don't lose these deals that acquire all-star sluggers. You just don't lose these deals. The team that gets the major leaguer, that's the all-star, that's the slugger, win the deals. So I'm worried about 2022. I'm not worried about 2024 and James Wood. I think he's going to be a great player. I'm sure he could be a great player. I'm worried about now. And that's why I'm all in on Juan Soto if I'm AJ Preller.
Right. And if the deal is really not getting it done yet because of, like you said, like a James Wood.
Yep.
I mean, I understand you're looking at this as a long-term thing here where that prospect to you might be viewed very highly and whatnot. But I'm worried more about like, I don't know, the guys right now, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Joe Musgrove, who I'm pretty sure tomorrow we're going to see an official signing, right? Official word on a signing.
Of Musgrove?
Of Musgrove.
Yeah, I think it was just a physical.
Yeah, physical. So you got the guys right now. James Wood might be amazing in 4 years, in 5 years. I can't afford to wait for that. I just can't. I don't care if you think he's going to be the best player ever. He is still not proven. You still have no idea if he's actually going to turn out to be that guy. And you are not including him in a deal because why? Like, you get the proven guy. You get the Hall of Famer. You get the MVP. You get the guy that you hope James Wood turns out to be for 2.5 seasons. That's what kind of, for me, if by chance, I don't know, we have no idea, but if by chance, like, that's a player they don't want to include in the deal, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, who doesn't want to pull the trigger on a Soto deal, even if it includes these high caliber prospects, which of course it was always going to include? This isn't earth-shattering news. I mean, is anyone against the Soto trade because it would cost them a Robert Hassel or a James Wood or an Adrian Morejon or a CJ Abrams or a Jackson Merrill or others? You can comment in the chat. Again, as you make your way into the chat, please subscribe. If you're a Padres fan, we ask you subscribe and smash the like button for us. If you want to make sure we get your comment here tonight, there's going to be a lot of people in the chat. You can use that super chat function by clicking the $ down below. If you want to become a member, you'll get custom emojis like the LFGSD emoji. You'll get badges as well. You'll get members-only content. You can click the join button next to the subscribe button down below. Let's get started with the first super of the night from our buddy Taco Bell. Call 911. Taco Bell, what's going on? Thank you for your super. And again, if you want to weigh in with the super, click that $ in the chat box down below. So he says, We need a big help on offense. If AJ Preller doesn't get a big name to help us, will he be on the hot seat as a general manager? Fans won't be happy. We've talked about this, Jim. I think you got to obviously wait through the remainder of this regular season to see what happens. But there's no question that there's going to be a lot of disappointment if AJ Preller doesn't come through. And it doesn't have to necessarily be Soto, but if it's if it's not anyone of significance, like a Wilson Contreras or Soto, there's going to be a ton of disappointment.
There will be, and we will all be disappointed. It will feel a lot like last year, but the trade deadline should not determine, if Preller's job, so to say, or if he's on the hot seat. And you have to wait till this thing plays out. And who says Tatis doesn't come back and light the world on fire and literally saves everybody's ass? Like, that could happen. And they make a run in the postseason. Who knows? So that's still there for the taking and still could happen. So no, even if he doesn't acquire a big time bat, which would at this point I feel like be a massive letdown, right? That's if he doesn't acquire Contreras or Soto or something else of like that, caliber, it will be a letdown, right?
Oh, 100%. There's no question.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a 2.5 game lead on a playoff spot. Like, nothing is guaranteed at this point, and they're not. I mean, the way they won today, you can't bank on winning like that every single day. I mean, 3-2 games against good teams. I mean, they've been good in one-run games, but you can't bank on that for the next 60 games against the Dodgers.
Today was a good win. Like, the offense, it's a problem, but you got the job done. You took 2 or 3 from a first-place team in the AL. Like, at this point in the season, I could care about how it looks.
Just winning. Get I agree. Win. All right, Christopher Wright, thank you for this super chat. He says Preller makes this Soto thing happen, or it's a bust. Consolation prize: Bell, Contreras, and Happ. Any two of those. I think a lot of Padres fans feel the same way. Christopher, thank you for the super. I think a lot of Padres fans feel similar, that if they do not land Juan Soto with all of this national attention from people like Jeff Passan, who goes on Sunday Night Baseball tonight saying that the Padres are holding up any potential moves around baseball because of their interest in Soto, and then Ken Rosenthal writing, it's AJ Preller's world, we're just living in it. I think a vast majority of Padres fans are going to come away disappointed if Juan Soto is not a Padre come Tuesday afternoon. That's just how I feel.
That's literally what will happen 100%. If Juan Soto is not a Padre, everyone will freak out. Like, it's to a point now where I feel like people are just like, wait, like, okay, when's he going to become official? When's he going to be a Padre? And there's so many more layers there that's not even close to what's happening right now.
I think you're right. And the layers, to your point, we don't even know what Mike Rizzo is tasked with doing. Is he fielding offers? Is he playing teams against each other? Will he pull his cards off the table at the last moment? Will he ultimately make a move regardless of the best offer? We don't know what he's doing. That's the problem with the game that Mike Rizzo is playing. Like, the Padres might be playing poker, but Mike Rizzo might be playing roulette. Like, we don't even know if he has to move the player. And if he doesn't have to move the player, there's no guarantee that he goes in the next 40-plus hours. That's the concern.
Like, could you imagine Juan Soto's not traded to the Padres? He goes somewhere else, and then the big move is Ian Happ.
Well, I can, Jim. I
know.
I absolutely can.
Or like,
if it's Happ and Contreras and Robertson, that would be a massive move. Huge. I don't know if those 3 players are packaged together with the Cubs, but no, nothing is Soto. Nothing. None of it. Reynolds, name a starter. Pablo Lopez. None of it. None of it is the same as Soto. Nothing touches Soto. Carlos Rodon, that's not happening, obviously. Hold on. Let me get to Dale. We didn't get to the super.
I meant to click on that one.
Dale, thank you again. He says, regarding our San Diego's best award from the UT Readers Poll, he says we deserve a great show and radio as well. That's very kind. I don't know if we deserve it or not. It wouldn't be possible without your support. We told people day one we're going to do stuff a little unconventionally. We're going to be honest. We're going to talk Padres baseball year-round. We're going to talk San Diego sports, and if that works in San Diego, great. If it doesn't, the audience will let us know, and it's worked thus far. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Let's get to Christian with this super. Christian, thank you for the super. If you guys want to weigh in with the super chat on this Sunday night, less than 2 days in front of the trade deadline, you can click that $ down below. It is a great way to support this channel, and we greatly appreciate it. Christian says this: wouldn't it make sense to get deals done sooner rather than later? Seems dicey making moves during a double header. Yes. In an ideal world, you are not sweating this thing out on Tuesday afternoon. But the prize is like the greatest prize in baseball history. 23-year-old with a career 420 on base percentage that's available for 2.5 years.
No.
So unfortunately, you need to play by the Nats rules as opposed to what AJ Preller wants to do,
Yeah, I just keep going back to, whatever may be holding this deal up, whatever the case may be. If that player, like better turn into the great, like better than Juan Soto. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're banking a lot here on that player, and I think that's too much of a risk because you got to win now, and you got to think about Manny's prime, and you got to think about Musgrove's prime, and
Great
you got to
point.
think about Bob Melvin being here so far under a 3-year contract. James Wood or Robert Hassel, they might be amazing in 4 years or in 5 years. And then guess what? Manny's way older. Musgrove has finished his contract. Tatis might still be in his prime, but he's got to prove that he can stay healthy. You're gonna be dealing with a whole different pit. Like, it's just too much of a risk not to pull a trigger on a guy because you think a dude's going to be a really good player in 4 years. It just,
I think that's a great point because they're built to win now.
You have to
you
do it
can't
now.
say it enough. They're built to win now. It's so
and if
true.
He does turn, and if James Wood or Robert Hassel turn into all-stars down the road, well, guess what? You just had Juan Soto, who's going to be a Hall of Famer for 2.5 years, and you rolled the dice, and you are now giving yourself a way better chance to win a World Series now than waiting for 4 years to have those guys turn into what you hope, like what Juan Soto is right now.
Well, it's stupidity if, in retrospect, people say, well, they traded for Soto and Hassel in 2025 was an all-star. Well, you traded for Soto to win now. Hassel being an all-star in 2025 doesn't help you win a World Series in 2022, 3, or 4.
And
that's why you make a trade like this.
And Juan Soto is going to be an all-star the next 2 years. And he's going to be one of the best players in baseball. And that he has the ability to literally go out there and win an MVP. And he's won a World Series already. And he had big, huge hits in Game 7 of a World Series at 21 years old. Are you kidding me? So
was he even 21 or was he 20?
He might have been 20.
2019, he was 20.
Yeah. So great. James Wood, awesome. Robert Hassel, awesome. They might be good in 4 years.
Yeah, it's all about timing. Timing is everything. And Juan Soto's a big leaguer right now that's producing. Those other guys could be producing in the big leagues later. But the Padres need to win it now, not later. Josh, thank you for the super. Thank you guys for the supers. Again, please subscribe if you're a Padres fan. Year-round Padres content. If you're here, that's all we ask. Make sure to subscribe, smash the like button. If you want to become a member, you can do that as well. Click the join button down below. So Josh says, congrats on the award. Thank you, Josh. And Jim on Date Girl, we saw the photo. She's real.
Yeah,
congratulations, Jim.
Yeah, she's a real person.
You're looking over to a wall as if she's over there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if they 60-day Hosmer to keep him from playing and not mess with morale by trading him? I don't think he's going on this 60-day. But that's an interesting theory. You get Myers back. He played a lot of first base, by the way, in the minor leagues. 5 games. He played at first base. Hosmer's got this neck thing. Maybe Myers starts at first tomorrow against the Rockies. I don't know what the deal with Hosmer is. I have no idea. Can they move him
60-day IL
for 2 years? Are they going to move Hosmer in the next 2 days?
Can he go on the 3-year IL?
Jeez. What's more likely? Hosmer traded, Soto a Padre?
Soto a Padre.
Is more likely than Hosmer traded?
Yep.
Dennis Lynn said 51-49 that Hosmer would be traded.
I think Preller has put all his chips in the Soto basket and kind of I think he might have gotten the okay from Seidler to go over the CBT, and they're just waiting on Soto. I don't think.
Dude, I don't think you're selling. You're selling.
I don't think
something
he's trying
here.
that. I don't think he's trying as hard as he was last year to get rid of Hosmer. He might be still trying, but not as hard as last year, I don't think.
Yeah, again, the priority between getting rid of Hosmer and bringing in Soto, the priority should be Soto, not Hosmer. Thank you, Josh, again for the super.
Right.
Thank you, Jesse, for this very generous super. Jesse, our buddy from Hawaii, hanging out on this Sunday early evening, I would assume, in Hawaii. He says, what's up, guys? Don't forget about your friend in Hawaii. We don't forget about our friend in Hawaii, no doubt.
No.
Now with the trade deadline, I'm hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. There's that, too. It's like where the Padres are right now, 11 games over 500. But you're like, hold on. I watched the last 2 months last year, 12-34 finish. Gave everything away, had a 7-game wild card lead after 100 games, and they didn't finish anywhere near the wild card. So, it's like I understand the reservation and the concern among Padres fans right now at this hour.
Dude, yeah, the PTSD from last year is very real. It's very real. And it's all like, the way they've played this year, the trade deadline. You go back to last year, same situation. Maybe not to as big a stakes as they are now with the trade deadline, but you're dealing with the Padres try to acquire a Hall of Fame pitcher last year. The Padres are trying to acquire a potential Hall of Fame outfielder. So, and I think kombucha, great, good job, awesome.
Thank you again for that super, very generous, Jesse. I want to get to this one from our buddy Pedro. It says, thank you, Pedro. Thank you guys for the supers. You can click that $sign down below. We'll get to all the supers here tonight. Padres do beat the Twins to win a series. They win today 3-2 and come from behind fashion. They beat up a little bit on Emilio Pagan, although not his runs. They hold off the Twins with a really good bullpen performance, including from Luis Garcia and Tim Hill and Nabil Crismatt. Pedro says, if the Soto deal goes through and we win it all, is the Preller statue coming before Tatis's? There's a lot that has to happen. Maybe. They've never won a World Series, so whoever brings a World Series here is going to be remembered fondly.
Like it's literally that simple. You win a championship, get whatever you want.
You're saying build whatever you want?
Yeah, build whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I do.
Like
you're on Padres content for you. Our buddy Solo Dolo in the chat says that if Soto not traded now, this deadline might affect our ability to go after him in the offseason if we trade futures before the deadline. Interesting point and a valid one. I would argue this from the Nats perspective. If you're the Nats, if you wait to the offseason, you may have more suitors available to you. Everyone's starting over in an offseason. Right now, there's only so many teams that are going for it. Right now, the Yankees don't need you. In 2 months, they may, and so on and so forth. But again, maybe there's a mandate from ownership to move this player because they're about to have a new owner, or who knows the reasons or the motivations to move Juan Soto right now. But I do think that's an interesting point. If they find out that the Nats will not move Juan Soto, I feel like Preller is going to disperse his prospects over the next 48 hours, and maybe that impacts him this offseason.
Or he doesn't trade any of the top prospects. Keeps Wood, keeps Vassell, keeps Abrams, keeps Gore. And
waiting for the offseason?
Wait for the offseason. But again, in the offseason, it's going to be much more tricky. Like you said, it's instead of 3 teams now, it's going to be probably 10 teams in the offseason, and you're running a risk in the offseason where you're going to now against the Dodgers, the Yankees, legitimately the Cardinal. Like the big boys will be more motivated in the offseason, I feel like, to make a trade for a Juan Soto than in season.